All
Hey,
right. Good afternoon, everybody. Tim Crouch, Grant Hubbard, Gutter Growth Podcast. Thanks for sitting in with us again. Tim, how's it going, man?
good man. How's your day going?
Just another day, doing everything that it takes to run a successful gutter business. And that's what we're going to talk about today. A little bit about hiring and, possibly firing. We'll see what rabbit hole will go down on that. But as well as that big topic right now, which is hourly versus percentage pay. And I think we're going to talk about these just strictly from our perspective. So, uh, Tim, what's up with you, man? What do you got on the fire today, just in general?
What do you mean by that?
Like, I don't know, you're a busy guy. You're my business partner. We have a lot of things going on. Like, what was the big takeaway for today, man? Because you're a man of
Today I
many
did a
words
couple.
and few.
I did some consulting today, so that was
Okay.
good. Got some
Yep.
guys in the right direction.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, hiring. So I think I mean that's a broad subject. So I mean I
It
want
is.
to start off with maybe mm, you want to be a company that's worth working for. So I think that's probably the best place to start. Um, you want to kick it off?
Yeah, sure. I mean, culture, right? Having someone that's a culture champion. So right off the bat, staying on topic with hiring. When you hire someone, you want to have something to offer them. And I hate to say it, but especially in this day and age. This isn't for the most part, old farm boys building homes and having all these different trades maybe they learned from their grandfather or father, right? These are a lot more single family homes, and I think being aware of like the social dynamic of our country right now, it's a lot of single family home men and women going out and try to get jobs. I think if you can look at some of those perspectives and know the data, then you're going to understand what class of people you are hiring. So I think right off the bat, knowing that and having an idea of how you're going to foster support through culture, through systems, through training, and exactly like you said, having a company that's worthwhile working for. And then,
I
of
don't know
course,
about you, Grant, but me, especially when I was a top installer before I started my own companies, I wasn't just going to work for anybody.
mhm,
If I didn't feel I could make I was skilled at that time where I was looking, but if I didn't feel I could make the right amount of money, if there wasn't benefits involved, or if the company was like super disorganized, I just wasn't interested.
very true, very true. And in that, I'm looking for the exact same things. I would say the last decade of my career. Um, Part of what I like about the Brothers That Just Do Gutters franchise, I mean, they're going to create an environment of growth, right? So you smaller guys, that's what you really need to be focused on when you're deciding like who you want to hire and what you have to offer them. Tim and myself alike, like looking for, I mean, what I always say, right? You're looking for a career, not necessarily a job. Like, man, can I win with this company, right?
Grant, that's pretty much your approach when you hire people, don't you? Pretty much just flat out tell them that.
Yes, it is. I let them know. Well, I'll run through just briefly what it looks like. So I'm interviewing you, Tim. You come through the door. I do a couple little tricks and I'll give away some of my secrets. So we're gonna back up. You haven't came in yet. Matter of fact, it's the day before. You've called me and we're on the phone, or I've called you, however that works. I'm going to have you arrive at an awkward number time. So let's say I want to have an interview with you at 7:30 a.m. I want you to pull up at 7:23 a.m. And I want to see if you're on time or early to 7:23. This is your first impression. You know what I mean? It's your first. A lot of people walk through the door right at 7:30, the normal interview. But I'm going to give you an awkward time. I would like you to be outside at 7:23. I would like you to call me when you're 10 minutes away. So now I see what your communication's like. Can you call and say, I'm 10 minutes away? Do you call me 30 minutes in advance, which is fine? Do you forget to call, or do you call me, hey, I'm outside? Indicator right there. Now, did you show up at 7:23 or a few minutes early? Okay. Why? I want to meet you outside by your vehicle. I want to see what your vehicle looks like. Is it clean inside, outside, dirty, trashed, falling apart? Are you riding with your wife and she's going to sit in the car like a whole bunch of stuff? So there's my three little secrets I do right off the bat. Those are indicators for me. Now you come in, I'm watching your body language, how you're dressed, typical stuff. And we sit down and I ask you what I can do for you. Like they're a customer. Hey, what can I do for you? Oh, yeah, man, I'm looking to get a job. Oh, you're looking for a job or a career? Some people might say, oh, no, absolutely, sir. I'm looking for a career. I just got married. I have a kid. You see where I'm going with it? This guy, I'm going to give him the pitch. We're going to have a much deeper conversation and we're going to win together, most likely. Now, if he says, oh, I don't know what the difference is, I still key in on that. Okay, you don't know the difference between a job and a career. So I let him know. Career has sustainability. You have an opportunity to partner with us in our growth. A job is more like going and working at Walmart. You're just an employee, blah, blah, blah. If they don't latch on to that, then I don't see a lot of drive, and I'll hit them with some conversation pieces like, would you like to grow? Would you like to become more educated? Are you interested in reading? Just some things like that. And then, the conversation kind of happens naturally after that. But I am able to field, I'm like the CIA with that interview, right? I've set up a couple different, it's a trial of how you're going to serve me as a customer. I set up the trial for you on the first day. You don't even know you're hired, but you're already working because you spent gas to come see me and time. I've got nothing, my feet up on the desk.
You already got a couple things to look at before they even get there.
Yes, sir.
Oh, I like that. It's pretty slick.
This podcast is sponsored by One Gutter Guard, the premium gutter guard that delivers the highest performance, quality, and value to your customers. From its different mesh filters to its unibody construction, One Gutter Guard can be the difference maker in your business. Are you interested in becoming part of the exclusive dealer network? Contact them today at onegutterguard.com or just give them a call. Now back to our show. We can talk to you more about that in our gutter growth, right? That's the type of level of stuff. Tim has his fabulous things, teachings and insight and experience that he brings to the table, and I have mine. And it's amazing the way that we complement each other in our coaching because it's extremely high level. Guttergrowth.com. Come check us out, guys. This is where the magic is happening. What about you, Tim? Like, what did you set them down and do? Like when they came in or met you
So
somewhere?
you're probably more experienced with hiring like fresh guys out the gate that have never even done gutters and you're training them. I didn't so much do that.
You're in
Um,
Florida. You're so lucky. There's so many good installers.
yeah, man, I had a good pile of guys to choose
Uh-huh.
from. But initially when I first started the company, I couldn't find guys to work for me. It was really challenging. And I
Yeah.
was doing pretty good and banging it out, but I was the new guy on the block,
Yeah.
and there was tons of companies that were already big, already been around for years. The installers have already been there for a long time.
Yeah.
So they're not going to take, especially back then, because this is like not too long after the Great Recession. So when people had a good, decent job, they kind of clung to it. So it took me becoming a really good company to work for me to kind of get that traction. And then once I started becoming a really good company to work for, I utilized the guys in my company to find installers for me. And
Oh, yeah.
I almost never had to ever put an ad on because I always had guys bringing guys to me.
That's fabulous. I mean, who doesn't love that? Let's touch base on that real quick. And I think we'll come back to it briefly. If you got a fire culture, people are going to tell their friends and family and neighbors for a multitude of reasons. And I'll just explain some of the simple ones in case some of you guys are newer or haven't hired. If I'm working somewhere and I'm making good money, my wife's happy, my kids are happy, maybe I've been there a year, 2 or 3, and now I've been able to purchase that first home or drive a nice vehicle, I'm going to be talking about it with somebody in my same social circle, right? Like it could be at the bar, it could be at the pool hall, the gym, church, whatever. When I'm let's say I'm 24 years old and I'm working at this sweet place, I'm going to talk about it with all my friends. Man, and then I want to work with them, right? Like this is construction. I want to work with my friends. How cool is that? Cuz that typically can't happen in a more um corporate structure, right? Because there's all these degrees and colleges and etc. But in construction, it's like if you'll work hard and show up and learn, like pretty much anybody could be hired, right? So, and we do, and a lot of people do, like referral structure. So what we do is $250 after 90 days for someone you've brought on, and then we do 500 at 6 months. And then after that, you reap the benefits of just having a nice employee. Um, we do that, and most of our people right now are brought that way, word to mouth.
I've done that as well. The $500 bonus to the guys when they
Mm-hmm.
brought someone on, but I pretty much only did it if they brought on an experienced guy
Fair enough.
because that
Yep.
that was worth me paying for. I could hire my own guy if he has no experience. I've ran ads, gotten 40, 50 applicants in a month before. Um,
Absolutely.
but you never know, and it's a lot of trial and error. Even if they're really good guys, you just never know until they get out there with their physical abilities. Um, so I would definitely pay for an experienced guy all day.
Yeah. I'll let me tell you this. Outside, you know what I'm doing, right? I'm currently for 90% of my hires over 5 years have been non-experienced
Hmm.
installers at two fairly large companies. So we're not talking 90% of four people. And the reason is because there's a system, supposed to be a system that is used by the franchisees and all 100 plus locations that I wouldn't say is rigorous, but it's outside of the norm, right? And that's what separates us. And that's not for everyone. And it's really difficult to teach an old dog new tricks. I was a exception to that, but not at first. When I first came to work for the brothers, I didn't understand why I needed to grow. I just didn't. I was like, you can't teach me anything about gutters. You want me to become a better what? By doing what? By reading, by working this? No, I just want to go hang 100 miles of gutter. But I quickly latched on to the system and understood that I was going to grow mentally and that was something that I was lacking in. And so I challenged myself, and that's what I do. And so, I flew through that system. So I say that to say it's hard to get a guy that's been doing gutters in Florida for 5 years or 12 years. He just shows up, goes to work, gets off, and disappears to do all this extra stuff for the same or less money at start. Then once you work this program, you create your own career and it just becomes fabulous after that, like any company. Um, that's why I hire the non-experienced guys because I can teach them everything that I want and I've got a really good system down to where in 90 days someone can be running a truck and teaching someone else for you and it's just works over and over and over and over and over. So
Honestly,
I
think that's the way that most companies should do it. I mean, if I was to do it over again, I would probably do it that way.
I would be your coach if
Yep.
I would still be your friend. I'd be your friend. It's cool.
Yeah.
You'd get it all. You already know that.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, I'm glad that me and you are friends now, man, because the things that you teach me on a daily basis, I always take my hat off to you online, bro, but just to say it straight to your face, like me and you are growing together at an insane rate. And I mean, we can be humble about it, but we don't have to beat around the bush. Me and you are the top in the industry, period. So it's cool that we're leveling up. Um, if I didn't run a Brothers Gutters location, very similar to you, I would do things differently, but I would hire more experienced installers and I'd take over the whole planet like in 5 to 10 years, man. I probably had like 50 or 100 trucks going. I'll
It
just,
definitely can be done both ways, and it can be
yeah,
done
yeah,
both
for
ways
sure.
together. You could bring in experienced guys. I think the biggest challenge, though, with bringing in the experienced guys is making sure that they fit into the culture. Um,
That's it. Yep.
yeah, I wouldn't hire someone just because they're really good and they're going to come in and be a culture killer. So if they could kind of jump on board, I'm with it, and I had a pretty good culture within my company. I mean, everything could have been improved.
Right.
Any business, you could probably improve something, but I had a decent culture, and um, it wasn't hard to do that when I had guys bringing guys to me because they already kind of fit in.
Yeah. Yeah, they were in the same social circle. My thing with bringing on the experienced guy. So let me just touch briefly on an interview with an experienced guy. That's the interviews I did earlier. Those are more non-experienced, but best believe, even if you've been doing gutters for 10 years, I'm asking to have you call me 10 minutes before. I'm going to have you show up at a weird number of time. All that stuff happens to anybody. I'm still going to hit you with the career job, but then I'm going to ask you immediately, oh, you've been doing gutters for 12 years. Why aren't you still working at the other company? And then I'm going to listen to him tell me how absolutely horrible the boss was, most likely.
That's usually what they do.
And I'm going to feel their pain because I worked for some MFers myself. Absolutely. Dudes that micromanage, dudes that are not, just the whole like just real POSs. They're fake. You know what I mean? Like a bunch of them. And then I worked for some awesome people. So I want to kind of go down that walk. The best one I like to hear is I just moved to a new state. That makes a lot more sense to me. I came to work for Nathan. I moved from Florida to go work for him. When I went down to work for John at Rainbow and Jerry, eventually became Jerry's Seamless. I moved from Boise, Idaho to come down there. You know what I mean? I talked for 3, 4 months with him. That's how long we interviewed. At this rate, if you're a good installer and you should be interviewing the company, not them interviewing you. I mean, that's what I want to feel like. Okay, you're really making sure this is the right choice because you know gutters, right? Stuff like that.
Have you ever made a bad hire from someone moving from state to state?
I have. I'm not perfect by any means,
I
but
had I had a nightmare one time.
let's hear about it. Give us the shorty on it.
Actually, I met the guy on the gutter group or
Of course.
gutter installers or one of them,
Uh-huh.
and he came from like Alabama, and I was working on a project in an apartment complex, so it would have been easy for us to just throw another crew in there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the guy came, and I mistakenly gave him some money for gas on the way or whatever. And then I get him on the job, right? The first day went fine. He did good. The second day he comes back and I get a call like around, I don't know, 11 or 12 o'clock in the morning from the project manager. And he's like, you got one of these guys in here, man, and he's got to go. I'm like, well, what do you mean? He goes, he goes, the guy's smearing blood all over his face. And I'm like,
Oh.
what? So I ended up going and to the project. And this guy, and it was like out of a horror movie. It was just he was like rubbing it, and I was,
Was he mentally ill or is methed
I
out or
think it was
something?
some type of drug that he got on,
Bath salts.
and something, and he had this big wound in the back of his neck, and he's like digging at it and scratching and itching, and I had to get this guy off my project, but that was a complete mistake, and it kind of scared me away from bringing anyone out of state again.
Yeah.
You know what I
For
mean?
the
'Cause it's like,
no, for the
you know,
most part, like the traveling drug addicts too, for sure.
yeah,
Like I've definitely had those guys working for me, the smearing blood, the shooting heroin in the trucks. Like, I've been doing it a quarter century. I've seen every possible bad day between two Homo sapiens standing erect. Like I've seen it all on the roofs, on the ground, in the stores, at the gas station, in the shops, like just the wildest shit. The guys you can't find because they're in the porta john, on the next job site over for 2.5 or 3 hours. All of it.
yeah.
Speaking of
So
that, so like firing,
firing, yep.
like you got to fire. How are you with firing? Looking back, like, did you put up with some bullshit? I mean, of course, we
No, I
all put
didn't.
up with
I
some
didn't
bullshit.
have to fire a lot of guys, to be honest with you. I had a couple guys that stole. You got to get rid of them after that.
Yep.
But I can't say like I had a lot of guys I fired. But I was also bringing on guys that I kind of knew.
Mm-hmm.
If I didn't know them, my guys knew them. or I knew somebody that knew them. So I wasn't
Right.
hiring a lot of experienced guys unless I kind of already knew something about them,
Yep. Yeah,
so I
yeah, that,
didn't have
that
too
makes
many
sense.
trials with them.
I think firing is something I just want to say publicly that I know I can get better at a lot of things. I don't know anybody that knows me. I have a very certain direction to how I deal with people, and it's not usually about firing them. I'm a man of a lot of chances, and I don't deal with a lot of bullshit per se because I'm so upfront about wanting other people's success. You know what I mean? I definitely many, many, many people that have worked for me tell me I'm definitely a one of a kind boss. Because I get up there and do it with them. I support them. I don't care about money. I treat people very well financially. My expectations are really clear, but they're not expectations that aren't can't be met. Like I let you grow and we just nibble away at stuff because life's not gonna just happen overnight and you're not gonna become perfect. Um, and as well as I just don't belittle people. I don't have any time for that. I'm not. I tell my guys a lot, right? I tell my guys a lot. Like when one of them's like, "Man, I'm better than so and so," and I'm like, "You might be better at hanging gutter. He's kicking your ass in life. He's got a car, a house, a wife. He pays his bills. He's got retirement, and you're much faster at gutters than him, but you live in a hotel. What do you want to be better at, man? Like what are you picking and choosing? So I would say firing. We fired one guy from over here at Kips, like told him he couldn't work here anymore because he stole. He actually stole money out of the safe and then left and never came back. So we didn't even have to physically tell him he was fired. And at the other company in San Antonio, I could be mistaken, but I don't think I let a single person go in 3.5, 4 years. People quit. I don't think I fired anyone. And then, so in the past 10 years, I would say I probably only fired like two or three people. And I probably had 60 or 70 people work under me.
Firing people needs to be done delicately because it could be dangerous. You
They
know,
could come. Woo.
Yeah, it definitely can. I mean, my grandfather, I started working when I was 13 years old in my grandfather's restaurant,
Uh-huh.
and he used to tell me that he could fire someone and he'd have them, they would thank him after he fired them because he'd fire them in such a nice way.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean? And he literally would get these guys to shake their hand and thank them. And,
Mm-hmm.
and you're doing someone a favor, honestly, if they don't fit in. You're not doing them any service to you by holding on to them. They're never going to fit in. You're kind of holding them back in life. It's
Oh, yeah,
to
yeah.
kind of get rid of them. Um,
Yeah, I
but
agree.
if you get in a battle with someone, because a lot of times you get rid of someone because they pissed you off or they did something they shouldn't have in the company, you should never penalize them with money
I agree that,
because
and it's illegal.
it's illegal. Well, it depends on the state. I mean,
Right.
in
Yeah.
Florida, you could deduct anything for any reason, really, as long as you pay them over minimum wage. So it's going to depend on
Right.
the state laws. But if you screw them over with money, you got an enemy for life. And they're going to go turn you into the labor board. They're going to go run their mouth. They might put bad reviews on you. So, like, literally, it's better to pay them to go away than it is to
Yes.
squabble over money. Even if they costed you something along the way, and that's why you're getting rid of them. Say they did something that cost $500 worth of damage. I don't recommend taking it out of the last check.
I don't either. And I don't. And I have lots of conversations with people I've been managing. I've been a manager, I think, at five, like high level management at five companies where I make the decisions. And usually the owners at least would like me to report to them and have the final say. But I'm not playing with nobody's money. That stuff's happened to me and it didn't end well for them. I guarantee. Like, um, charge enough where you can't don't gotta take an L and play with people's money.
Yeah, I mean,
that's horrible.
even if you're taking an L, take that L because it's better to take a little L on $500 or something stupid
Yeah, yeah,
than it
yeah.
is to take it out of the guy's check, and now you got an enemy for life. I mean, I
Yeah.
got so many people that have worked for me and don't work for me now, and they will still do business with me to this day if they have the opportunity.
Yeah. Yeah, you go right by it, man. Not to mention, like you said, there could be physical or like damage to your company. You know, people are crazy these days. So yeah, fire the right way. Actually I did fire one guy. I remember that I can remember in San Antonio in about 4 years. I fired one guy and it was for drugs. Enough is enough, and you can't be shooting dope, and you got to go. And we had a great conversation about it. And I was like, look, man, I still respect you as a person. You're dealing with something at the current time that is jeopardizing the safety of other people at the company, and it's against the policy, man. You know, you got to go. And I actually referred him a couple years later to somebody else, and they were able to make some money together. So I'm a very forgiving. I know I'm a very unique person. I'm a very forgiving human being, and I just care about people so much. I always tell people all the time, like, this is just putting screws in wood. I want to touch base on this. I need people to remember too. This goes right to your opening point. Like, be a company worth working for. That um people that are going to come risk their lives for your company, one story, two story, three story, four story, whatever it is, being on roofs, are going to be more people that are more flippant. I think that's the right word, with things in life, which means just have a lack of respect. That's what the industry has to really choose from. Sure, you get a guy every now and then that might have a degree or something like that or be changing careers, but I think the people that are going to be a little bit more into thrill and all in life, like to hang gutters or do roofing, go up on roofs, climb ladders, move stuff around, reach way out and hit screws, are going to, are going to be people that have probably made some mistakes in life because they're thrill seekers and they might have committed some crimes, or, again, just grown up in bad neighborhoods, and they take more risks. And I think as I continue to look at how undiverse the trades are at the more installation level, it's because of the dynamic you have to pick from of the workforce. And it's guys that have committed crimes in the past. It's guys that have done drugs in the past, have mental illnesses, and like to drive fast and probably get tickets and don't have licenses and or abuse drugs or alcohol. And these are the guys that are going to go, as long as they can change their life, make you the most money, right? Because they're fearless at everything.
Yeah,
And you
there's
got to
definitely
help.
a fear factor with hiring and
Yeah.
installing.
And then you got to help court them into manhood, right? And that's just part of having this amazing culture. Kip, that I work for, he does this excellently in supporting that culture. What that looks like. The one thing you should never do as a boss, even if you're mad or anything, is tell people that you write the check. Duh, I'll write the check. You know what I mean? Like, I'm gonna be done working for you if you say crap like that to me or others. Or anyway, there's a list of things obviously
Well, I
not to
mean,
do.
it'll start resentment, and
Yeah, and then people just wish they weren't at work, and it shows in all their actions, right? Well, and then they all just sit around talking about how much they hate the boss, and then you got nothing. You know what I mean?
yeah,
And they'll
it's like
start
the
to
culture
they'll
is
start to,
important. If you got a good culture, it'll be easier to hire. When you get a new hire in, they're going to come in and they're going to pick up all that energy off your employees, your existing employees.
yeah,
And so if you already
yeah,
have that good culture, the chance of that hire lasting is going to go way up.
100%. And I'll just be very frank about it because I know about it very well. Working under bosses that just aren't the best, all the guys are going to start to form an alliance to the manager. You know what I mean? If the manager is taking really good care of them, and I can speak to that. I've worked at several different companies where the owner just wasn't a good people person and he was a total know-it-all, and it was my company or the highway. Like Steve Jobs and Elon Musk, whether you like them or not, these type of people, they go in and embrace everyone's intelligence. They want to hear the good and the bad ideas, right? If they act like know-it-alls in the room, they don't build iPhones and Teslas all by themselves, right? But back to my point, if you take a manager like myself and I try to shield employee because I'm an installer at heart, right? I don't ever just act like I'm a behind the desk guy. People love that about me. People are drawn to me and then they become loyal to you. And then if I ever leave the company, everybody's used to just dealing with you and you were reasonable and then the owner wasn't reasonable. You're going to end up losing your whole workforce over a period of a year or two, if not overnight. And I'm not saying make not to hire management that people love, but make sure that you're well liked too. Like if you lay back in bed at the end of the day and you go, you're questioning, do my employees, how do they really feel about me? You're already off the boat. They don't like you. They don't like you. They don't like your people that you bring
And if you
around.
are in that big of a company where you got someone else managing and you're not in so much the day to day, don't isolate yourself because isolation is pretty dangerous.
Yeah.
Um, you know,
Yeah.
it is. I mean, being
It's
around
really
too
bad.
much could be dangerous too, but isolation is real dangerous. And
Well, you want to be enjoyable when you're around, right? Here's the problem owners do. They show up when there's problems and then they just show up at meetings. And usually in the meeting, you got to have some tough conversations, especially if the numbers aren't right or if they're not sharing them. And so all of a sudden, only time you really see the owners when bad things are happening. So just be aware of that and make sure you're around for good things and make sure that you're inspiring good things, and you're not talking down on people. So hiring and firing, I think we touched on some great aspects of that. Let
another thing I wanted to touch
yeah,
on is how to get the calls. So, like,
yeah,
what do you
yeah.
do? Do you use LinkedIn or?
Nah, bro, listen.
All right, let's see what Grant's doing.
Exactly what you said. I don't take nobody. I hired a shop guy from that's kind of high turnover, the shop person through Indeed or Facebook. I told you I hired that girl. I just put a Facebook ad up. She was the first one that commented. I locked her in. Other than that, every single employee that I have right now and have had are all referrals from each other, all of them. And I'm about to hire two more
Girl
guys.
referrals.
Every single one of them. That's the only time I'll say this, and it's Kip
Yep.
knows. We just had this conversation. How Kip's like, well, when are you going to hire somebody? When are you going to grow? When our guys bring them to us. And he's like, you want me to put out ad? I'm like, no. I'll know when they come, when our guys refer them. That's when we're ready. And it's always worked.
Now, Grant, some of these guys they don't have the guys to get guys. So some people are going to be in a
No,
situation where they have to put an ad.
this is
Um,
where you're best at. Tell us, man, because you know this game right here.
so what I did is I'd like to have because I had 5 vehicles on the road. So on the back of the box trucks, I'd have a link or you could put a QR code. I would put
Mm-hmm.
a landing page on my website to where they could actually
Ooh,
go and apply on the website.
ooh. Okay.
So I would add a page on your website for employment opportunities and for applications. So then I would have that on my box truck. That way, every single day you got 1 to 5 trucks driving around advertising, because when you're
Oh, I
driving
love
around being
that.
a gutter guy, you notice every single gutter truck you see.
Of
And
course. Yeah,
sometimes
yeah,
you end up
yeah.
behind them, you're driving behind them like, oh yeah, it's
All
in
the time.
front of me. But if you got that in the back and for some reason you got a good installer, they may have a bad boss, like you're saying, because there's plenty of them
Hmm.
out there. And they're looking. And right now they're gonna see that. They're gonna go straight to the web page and boom, they're right there to go ahead and fill out an application. So that's
Yep.
one way to do it. It's really cheap. Even if you already have your wrap on there, it's nothing to just put a couple letters on there and a QR code.
Yeah, now hiring for sure.
Um, I don't think Facebook has a feature anymore. But I used Facebook and did a sponsored ad back when I was running Gutter Pros, and I brought in applications that way. I used not LinkedIn. What's the one you just said it a minute ago?
Indeed.
Indeed.
Yeah, yeah.
But I had a source of leads coming in, and there was at one time when I was really hiring where we were getting like 30, 40 applicants a month. And now you really got something to go through. And I would put them on a Zoom meeting versus having them show up and all that, just to kind
I
of
like that.
just to
Yeah.
go through it faster, you know.
100%. 100%. No, that's a really good idea, actually. I like that. And it lets you know if they're at all technologically savvy, right?
Hmm.
Okay.
But
Because
yeah,
in
I
this
think
day and age,
everybody
you
should
need
add that page on their website. It's another page, employment opportunities. You
that's
see
a
it on
great
every
idea.
big company's website that you go to.
Yep. Hmm.
Uh, you should
It's
have
right there
it.
at the bottom, right? Like contact us and then employment opportunities or whatever.
Yeah, whatever, but
Yeah.
you have a page, and when they click on that QR code, it's going to bring them directly to that page instead of them having to look through it and find it.
That's a fabulous idea. And so expounding on that, I think you could put that on some business cards. So like I could see right now. So I also like scouting people like at Home Depot or Lowe's. Let's say there's that Subway I've been going to for 6 months, right? And it's always the same kid. Maybe he's kind of stocky. He's a gentleman. He doesn't F up my sub. And I'm hiring and I'm like, man, I wish. And then I'm like, oh, that's right, Brad. I go get a sub and I'm like, yo, Brad, I'm hiring, man. You're not gonna make 12 bucks an hour anymore. Cause I've done that plenty. If you had that QR code on the back of, maybe just you as the owner, you don't have to put it on everyone, and it now hiring. But even if you had it on the back of all of them, so your
You can
sales
have it on
guy
the back
sounds
of a
like,
business card, or you could get one of those contact cards, probably.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
there's
that's
a million
awesome.
ways to do it. I mean, but yeah,
I
no,
like that.
if you're at a business and you see a guy that's like, it's a lower paying job, but you could tell he'd be an excellent employee. That's a perfect person to hand that card out to and start recruiting.
Snatch them up.
Yeah.
Snatch them up.
I mean, you're already kind of seeing how he holds
You watch them
himself, and
operate. Yeah. Yeah. You watch them operate. Lowe's and Home Depot is a
yeah.
great place. A lot of people, when you're talking about hiring, let's just I want to do this. I want to talk about percentage pay and hourly on another podcast so we can really dive into it. You cool with that? Yeah.
Yeah, let's
Okay.
do it.
On the hiring, when you're talking with people, I want to talk about this chart we've been training people on about having, their expectations organized and how to delegate them. I like to kind of go through that with the new hire and see if anything like sparks, right? They're like, oh, this is cool. So I can engage in my own raises. I know exactly how long it's going to take me to become a guy running his own truck or in charge of other people. When that little light goes off, I like that too, you know? Versus people that get scared away. Like, hey, here's a list of stuff I need you to do over the next year or two. And then they no call, no show you the first day, you know? Um, I've had that happen in my life. It hasn't happened too recently. Um, I'm a good salesman of people of going, hey, don't you want to win together? I'll win with you. I've
I've
got
had
a
that
winning
happen with
track
helpers.
record. Yeah, and I just let them know that the company's awesome. I let them know what we do. Like, hey, man, we're going to have a couple parties a year. We're handing out Christmas bonuses. You get these paid holidays. A lot of you guys, I need you to remember when you're being, uh, quite frankly, douchebags to your employees and you ain't giving them no health care, no 401k, no nothing. You're talking about, oh, my guys make $800 to $1,500 a week. Like, they're not getting rich.
That's another
There's
thing I
no,
want to touch on. When you write these ads, you want to write it in such a way that it makes them want to work for you. And the best way to do that is put yourself in their shoes, because you were probably an employee once, and if you were looking, what would you want to hear? I mean,
yeah,
you don't want to hear just must be able to do this, that, this, that, and then that's it. What's in it
will
for them?
train.
Yeah, like what's in it for them? Are you giving benefits? A lot of guys are like, well, I don't know how to get benefits. You could get a leasing company to do your payroll, and then that automatically gives you work comp, everything you need, but it also gives them options to get benefits. And even if you're not paying for it or you're not contributing, at least
Yep,
they have that option to sign up for that when you get them on the payroll.
100%. I'll
So
tell you like
what are you
what,
doing for them?
like Kip, he gives life insurance policy right off the bat, 25,000. That's something that's awesome. You automatically, let's say something happened to you on the job, It was something I told my wife right away. I was like, it ain't much, and we've got our own thing going on, but hey, something happens while I'm working here. That's 25K right to you. Like, and I'm functioning at a much higher level, and that was important to me. Then there's healthcare and, blah, blah, blah. But um, you guys that can't attract anybody, don't have your company level with like working at the dollar store or Burger King or Home Depot or Lowe's, because it is what it is. You can go to a lot of places and make bullcrap money, 15 to 20
If
bucks
they
an
come into
hour.
work and you're disorganized and you don't have your shit together and you're scrambling around at the shop to get ready, they're going to notice that on their first day, and they might not last more than 2 or 3 days because they're going to be like, this place is a joke.
Yep.
Especially if they
Retention.
worked at a high level place before that had systems and everything was organized and it was structured like a real business. Because let's face it, a lot of us in the gutter industry, there's demand in a truck.
Yeah.
But don't run it like you're running it out of your backyard, even if you are. Be professional, have systems, make it to
Yeah.
where they want to work for you. There's a reason. They know that they're going to go to this company and they have room to grow, because
Yes.
nobody wants to be anywhere that they're going to be stagnant. It's called a dead end job. And so you don't want to create that for them, because that's going to hinder you being able to grow.
Yeah. I think that's beautiful. Dead end job. Don't offer a dead end job. Listen, if you're on a sinking ship, get off, or I don't know what they call it, but write that thing. Get the water
And
out of
even
it,
if you're
fix
in the
the
beginning
hole.
stage, you can get guys on the vision with you. If you're leading
Mm-hmm.
the company and you're showing them that you're a leader and you're about growth and you want this company to go from point A to point B to point Z, and they're on that mission, and that you could get them converted onto that mission with you. And I think
Yeah.
some of the things you do is awesome, like getting them reading that monthly book and having them work on their self. They're like, hey, I'm growing personally being with this company.
Yeah, we could talk at nauseum about the personal growth. You're going to continue to see, and I mean, the viewers continue to see me interview people that work at my company over the next 90 days as I'm about to go through this employee series, employee testimony series on the Gutter Growth podcast, and where I'm going to be asking certain employees questions where you can get a feel for how important that culture is. And you've seen a little bit of that with Therion on the podcast. I think we gave him a whole bunch, Tim, about just like they got a whole bunch of gold in this one of how to maybe start hiring a little differently. Do you want to leave them with any famous last words?
I mean, just to reiterate, you want to be worth working for. You want to be professional. You want to look at the hiring from their point of view. When you're writing up the ad, what are things that are going to make them want to work for this company? What makes you a company worth working for? What makes your company better than working for the next gutter company? You need to be able to show that when you're writing the ads. Um, and you need to have some good street smarts and have some sense about you with character and who you're talking to. As soon as you get them on the phone, I like some of
Yeah.
the traps that you set up for them to, so they got a couple things to fail before they even get to you.
And it's
It's just
okay. It's okay if they do. I'll let them know, and that way they can grow.
right. And then just, part of the hiring is having the right systems in place as soon as you get them on board. So that way you don't lose them and it ends up being a good hire.
Very true.
What about you?
Um, yeah, I think it's really important to have a vision. You got to have the vision before you can get someone else to work for you a long time. So if your vision is to build something that's going to last, then don't start off working backwards with lack of retention, because that's your secret. It's lack of retention strips all your profits right away from you. Even if you're looking at your company and you're like, man, I'm always losing people. I can't keep anybody, but you're still making 100,000 a year. Then you'd probably be making 200 or a quarter million or 300 if you could actually just keep the same guys. And yeah, set up some little traps. I'll give it away. Set up some ways to see if they can do what they're asked to do via that Zoom meeting, that phone call. I like to do an awkward number, and I like to, if it's going to be in person, be able to see them. I like to greet them out at their vehicle. That's just something. There's a whole bunch of smaller things I'm looking for when I greet them at their vehicle that you can find out if you were in our coaching group. I mean, there's a long list of stuff. And then, hey, as the owner, if you're a good salesperson, you should be able to sell yourself really well that you're a winner, that the employees you have are winners, your company's winning, and through those wins, you support growth so that they can eventually help you win in different locations.
I like what you said. You got to have a vision, and you got to be able to sell that vision to your new hire. Get them on
Yeah.
board. Get them on the
Teach your
team.
salespeople how to sell that vision to the customers too. It's the same thing. It's the exact same thing. I'm really good at selling gutters to people that need it on their house, and I'm really good at selling gutters to people that I need to put them up. It's all the same process. I just have like a 99% close rate with hires, and I've got like, a 50 to 60% close rate on gutters at high prices.
Yep.
Tim, it was a
Good
pleasure, man. I'm
hire, Tim.
excited. Yeah, hey, it's one thing I'm good at, man. I'm bad at a lot of other stuff. So
Yep.
trying to continue growing myself, man.
Got to do it.
It was a good time talking to you, bro. Hey, let's just let them know. Our next podcast, we're gonna talk about that big conversation about hourly and percentage and what both of our thoughts are on that, and maybe help you guys detangle that web of how to take care of your guys now that you know how to hire them.
Let's do it.
Later, bro.
All right, man. Have a good night.
You too.